A very good evening. Thank you very much for choosing GHOne TV. It's always a delight when we come your way with the latest happenings throughout the country. Well, tonight will be no exception as we bring you up to speed on the latest happenings throughout the country. We will be in court. We'll be updating you from our world of business. You get the latest from our world of sports, and we'll refresh you with some entertainment as well. I bet you're all set and ready for the latest happenings. Well, just before we bring you all the details, let's look at snippets of the top stories we have for you. Coming up in the next 16 minutes, controversial legislative instrument to regulate cement prices finally laid before Parliament after further discussions with stakeholders.
Cement manufacturing regulations, since I also will get license, since I was register war, BBR, Bushman for Ghana standards now, I'm going to check BBR, also almost check cement and
Ministries and government agencies to grind to a halt as Civil and Local Government Staff Association declares strike over salary structure. How does this affect government machinery?
All staff of the civil service and the local government service should stay away from work until further notice. Similarly, all cluster secretariat offices are closed.
Also ahead, MPP flag bearer closes in on John Dramani Mahama as he makes a 3.3% gain in latest poll from the Global Info Analytics. We shall tell you more. And then we'll bring you updates from our world of business as Standards Authority to intensify campaign on the use of calibrated scales for traders. Tonight, we bring you all these details and many more stories to stay with us within the one hour as we share all these and many more with you. My name is Kweku. Thank you very much for choosing GHOne TV. Let's take our very first story for the evening. And here, the third accused, Richard Jakpa, has said the cross-examination of him by the Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah Dame, was below the belt, scoring him 3 out of 10. Well, according to Jakpa, a businessman, the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah Dame did not understand the case he himself supervised in court. Jakpa made this known after he was discharged by the High Court in Accra, presided over by Justice Ifia Sewa Asari-Botry after conclusion of the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah Dame's cross-examination of him. Well, Richard Jakpa, a businessman, is standing trial together with Minority Leader Dr. Kezil Atoforsen for what prosecution alleges is to be the willful causing financial loss to the Republic to the tune of some 2.37 million euros following the purchase of ambulances. Well, the accused persons have pleaded not guilty and are standing trial before Justice Ifiasewa Asari-Botry, a justice of the Court of Appeal, sitting as an additional High Court judge. Both prosecution and Dr. Forsen, the first accused person, have all closed their cases with Jakpa in the witness box. Mutala Enosa is our legal affairs correspondent. He's right here in the studio tonight. He will share more with us on this. Well, Mutala, let me start with you tonight. So, there was a video link that was generated in relation to this case. Tell us about this video link.
So you expect huge numbers today, especially so when the indication was clear that the Attorney General or the prosecution was to conclude their cross-examination of Mr. Jakpa. In fact, I want to put on record that the cross-examination lasted for 4 days. 4 days. That's the date that the Attorney General, you can even put it and say 4.5, because the very first time when Dr. Kasila Tuforsin's lawyers ended the cross-examination of him, prosecution only asked 2 questions. So that one excluded. Prosecution had 4 days to scrutinize Mr. Jakpa. And today being the very last day, you expect the numbers. And so the Chief Justice thought it wise to direct that a video link be generated to ensure that wherever you are, you can't be able to join the proceedings. And in fact, my understanding that some 500 people, as per the link that was generated, were able to join the link to watch proceedings. And in fact, when that was made clear, Justice Efia-Sewa Saribucho indicated that whoever is in the courtroom and want to leave can leave and join virtually. But that was how the proceedings of the day when the Attorney General began the cross-examination of Mr. Jakpa.
Interesting. Mutala, let me find out from you. So from the beginning of the last day and the final day, the question, I mean, just share with me, how was the proceedings like?
So it was something that you expected. The banter between Richard Jakpa and the Attorney General. So the Attorney General will pose a question, Mr. Jakpa will want to answer. And in the course of answering, Mr. Jakpa, the Attorney General will want a straightforward answer. But Mr. Jakpa, as usual, will tell you that some of the questions that you ask do not require straight answer. So I have to give you a background for you to understand. And in fact, at the point in time, the judge will have to come in, just if you say what Saribucho, will have to come in trying to make sure that things will go. At the point in time, both parties, both Mr. Jakpa and then the Attorney General, attention will be drawn that, in fact, some of the words that they even want to use in courtroom are not allowed. They should take a cue from the bench. At the point in time, the lawyers of Mr. Jakpa will also have to come in because how Mr. Jakpa want to answer the question, prosecution is not allowing him to do that. Okay. And that issue of heckling here and there also came up that final day. But of course, prosecution's point was to the effect that if you look at the whole ambulance contract, there was no letter from the Ministry of Health to the Ministry of Finance to, as it were, establish a letter of credit of a sort, which led to monies being released for the purchase of those ambulances. What it said was that, and Mr. Jakpa in the response said that, look, yes, you can't find a letter from the Ministry of Health to the Ministry of Finance. But however, the opinion of the Attorney General at the time, particularly Mr. Dominic Ayeni, pointed the fact that it was very instructive for the Ministry of Health to Finance, I beg your pardon, to generate that letter of credit, which was done. So, in effect, what he's saying is that if the AG is saying that there was no letter, there was no directive, there was nothing from the Ministry of Finance to ensure that that letter of credit, which gave way for the money to be expended, he said no. The Attorney General's opinion gave the power to the Finance Minister. And in effect, he said that government of the day, that's the Nana Akufo-Addo government, is deliberately ignore the ambulances just so they'll make a case out of it. So that is how the cross-examination ended after the Attorney General indicated the conclusion of it. In fact, the court gave the AG up to 3:15 to end the cross-examination of Mr. Jakpa. Then after 3:15, he said, look, because of how the questions were being asked and how Mr. Jakpa is responding to them, the court should give him additional 10 minutes. And that additional 10 minutes also took us about an hour because Mr. Jakpa would not want to respond to a straightforward question, or it was just given. The court was, okay, talk. Let's listen to you and all that. So that's how it ended. But what Mr. Jakpa is saying is that the case before the court, Mr. Atoforsi and everybody did due diligence. If there's anybody who should be held responsible for causing financial loss, then it should be the present government.
I mean, let me call him the main man in the matter here, Richard Jakpa all over. But let me try and find out from you. After the case, you've been speaking to the interested parties in here. So share with me when you interacted with Richard Jakpa himself. What has he been saying?
So he is the second accused person that personally I have seen after court sitting that he wants to talk, even though he has a case in court and his fate has not been determined yet. Look, let me ask him, were you surprised with the cross-examination of the Attorney General, that encounter you have, and how would you rate him? He said, look, the Attorney General's performance, the cross-examination of him by the Attorney General is below the belt. And if he said that, look, he rate the Attorney General 3/10. Let's go and listen to Mr. Jakpa on what he thinks of the Attorney General's cross-examination of him.
Attorney General came to court purely on political convenience and mischief to imprison Honorable Atuforsen. And this stemmed from the e-levy. It stemmed from the e-levy because Honorable Atuforsen was a ranking member for NDC in Parliament. And he was giving them headaches. he was frustrating and being meticulous on the figures that Ken Ofori-Atta was bringing to Parliament. So on the insistence of Ken Ofori-Atta, they decided to charge Atto-Forson in order to intimidate him, to soften in Parliament, so that he doesn't peruse and be too critical on the things that Ken Ofori-Atta brings to the Finance Committee. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just below the bar. It's below the bar. They were legally incompetent.
You say below the bar?
Below the bar, what I'm trying to tell that they were legally incompetent, very inept at arguing their case. You were in court. You saw that he was bringing documents and he was even confused. He didn't even understand that there is an LC account in a bank, and the LC is established from the account of the bank, from an account of the LC. So there's difference between 15 and over million and 3.9 billion, which was meant for the first 50 tranche, which came from which came from the ministry. And the man was telling the court that debit and credit balance, which was open and closed, and the charges in the bank, that was the LC. That is completely, it's just pathetic.
Wow, Richard Jakpa himself there, granting interview, the man who has a case in court. But yeah, away from Richard Jakpa, so who else did you interact with?
Okay, so the National Communications Officer of the NDC, Sammy Gyamfi, has also been reacting after the court sitting. We can hear Sammy Gyamfi.
This man is a local champion only because he specializes in fixing matches. But you see, now that everybody is watching the proceedings and he has met his meter, Jakpa, you see how he's being exposed. You don't even read documents that you are cross-examining a witness on. You don't read. And you come and tell Jakpa that, look, read the Attorney General's letter. Where did he never, Dami was categorical, that the Attorney General never told government to establish a letter of credit. You were in court. Then Jakpa read it. When the Attorney General was clear that government is bound by the terms and should perform the terms. What are the terms? Key term is a letter of credit. So clearly, that is how bankrupt in knowledge relative to this case this Attorney General is, and he's moving all over the place, you see, because he himself doesn't believe in this case. He says he was being pressured by Ken Ofori-Atta and Akufo-Addo to persecute Atto-Forson and hope that they will win the case, go for a by-election, in the belief that Fantas are cheap and get one more seat that they don't deserve.
All right, so Mutala, every now and then you are able to get a bite from the Deputy Attorney General equally. This time, did you get him? What did he say?
Yes, Alfred Chiayeboa has also been reacting to the sentiment being shared, or the reaction of Sammy Gyamfi and also Mr. Jakpa. So let's go and hear from what Deputy Attorney General Alfred Chiayeboa also has to say after whether indeed they have made their case today.
It is rather unfortunate. My brother is a lawyer. The Honorable Attorney General is an astute lawyer. He's a well-read lawyer, a revered lawyer. He knows his stuff. And so if he decides to say that is a match fixer, I mean, I don't understand him. Go to the law reports, go to the Supreme Court of Ghana law reports, and look at the case that he's done at the time that he was in private practice. And from 2016 to date, I can say without any fear of equivocation that if you look at the ages that we have in Ghana, if he's not the best, he may be one of the best when it comes to his courtroom appearance. And look at international arbitrations. An Attorney General who leads his team to go on international arbitration and win cases internationally, not local. So if you say local champion, what does it mean? An Attorney General who is able to boost the staff strength of the ministry, giving them the training such that now we do not pay millions of dollars to external solicitors. Only few of them. Most of the cases that we have on arbitration, he leaves. So does it mean that if he goes outside to fight those cases, he also goes there to fix matches? I mean, it doesn't make sense if you say that he fixes matches.
All right, Mutala, so interesting listening there. But just before I allow you to go, so what next? What are we supposed to see? What are we supposed to expect when I back in court again?
Okay, so we are back in court on the 11th of July. But on the 11th of July, what is clear now is that Mr. Jakpa is done talking. Okay. He will no longer mount the witness box to talk again. But he will be calling 8 witnesses. And on the 11th of June, We expect the very first of his witnesses to come, who will be the representative of Big C, and that will be done virtually. So that is what we do expect at the next court sitting. But what is clear now is that Mr. Jakpa's cross-examination is done personally, but he will be calling 8 witnesses, and the first of the 8 will mount the witness box on the 11th of July.
You can always trust Mutala Enusa to bring you all the details that you're looking for from our courts. And when there's more on this particular story, he will be sharing more with us. Well, let's look at other stories this evening. And here, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, I'm talking about CLOSAC, have declared a nationwide strike effective Wednesday, July 3, 2024, over government's inability to implement the new salary structure for their members. Well, a statement signed by the Executive Secretary of CLOSAC, Isaac Bampo Ado, directed all staff to stay away from work until further notice, while CLOSAC secretariats and offices will also remain shut. The implementation of the new salary structure was agreed upon in year 2023, but it is yet to take effect. The National Labour Commission has summoned leadership of CLOSAC to a meeting to address this concern on July 3, 2024. Well, here is Executive Secretary of CLOSAC declaring the industrial action.
In consonance with our letter number BA 15 volume 2 dated 21st June 2024, indicating our intention to proceed on nationwide strike if the new salary structure for the staff of the civil service and local government service is not implemented, we hereby declare a nationwide strike with effect from Wednesday, 3rd July 2024. All staff of the civil service and the local government service should stay away from work until further notice. Similarly, all cluster secretariat offices are closed. Can you take note and comply accordingly? Thank you.
Right, so thank you very much for keeping faith with us. If you're just joining in, this is News Tonight. We still have some more stories for you. But before then, you can hit us on our social media platform. CLOSAC has declared a strike action. We would want to hear your thoughts on it and really if this is justified. But before then, let's do some politics at this moment. And here, flag bearer of the governing NPP, Dr. Bawumia, is said to be closing in on the opposition NDC's GHOne Mahama in the latest opinion poll from the Global Info Analytics, where the latest polls shows a 3.3 percentage gain for the MPP flag bearer against a minus 3.2 percentage for the opposition NDC flag bearer within 2 months. Well, the report from the polling organization in April showed Dr. Bawumia scoring some 34.9%, but that rose to some 38.2 in June, while GHOne Mahama dropped from 54.3% to 51.1% during the same period. Well, the latest poll also shows the new force gaining some 2.3%, while the Movement for Change lost some 2.2% in the same period. My colleague Musa Lansa is here to help us with some details of the polls, which also indicates the key issues that will influence voters. Musa, thank you very much for your time this evening. So, yes, let me find out from you, how do you break down this report by Info Analytics?
Well, Kweku, is very interesting, the things from the Global Analytics Group. If you recall, somewhere in April, they came out with a report that indicated that the NDC's GHOne Mahama was leading with some 54.9% of the votes that were that they pooled around the country, various regions, and various things they used to, as it were, look for who would win the 2024 presidential elections. But 2 months later, things have changed. What you're seeing here is what they've come out with, indicating the voting pattern for committed voters from the samples that they used. And it indicates that GHOne Mahama dropped from the 54.9% they had in April to 51.1% in June. and Bawumia rather went up from 34.3% to 38.2%, which is very, very significant in terms of who is going to be winning. And this is just after 2 months of Bawumia starting his campaign, rigorous campaigns. Prior to the one that the Global Info Analytics had in April, Bawumia hadn't started his campaigns yet. But this new polls indicate that, yes, this is where we're heading to. 2 months afterwards, a gain of 3%, and Mahama went down by 3.2%. So it's a very interesting one we're looking at. But what are the key issues people are going to be voting on? Very interesting statistics from the Global Info Analytics. But before we do that one, let's look at some other issues. Kweku, look at the key issues that people are going to be voting on. 73% of people are going to be looking at the economy. Some 69% will be looking at jobs, some 50% will be looking at education, 27% will be looking at roads, 24% healthcare, 19% taxes. Corruption will be 17% of the people, the samples they looked at. 13% will be looking at petroleum prices. Now, almost every month, people are asking the media, what is the next pricing window going to look like? And so some 13% people will be voting based on the petroleum prices. Security, how secure are Ghanaians? Some 5% are going to be voting based on this. Water, the cost of water. Just yesterday, we had the various utility service providers begin the implementation of the new tariffs. And that is one thing that the Global Info Analytics is telling us that people will be voting on. Whether they are party members or not, just 3% will be voting based on that. Sanitation, others, ethnicity will just take 1%, and religion 1%. So it's telling you that people are not really going to look at ethnicity or religion in their voting based on the polls that they had. And the slogans, will the 24-hour economy be something people will be voting for? Some 48% are likely to vote for that 24-hour slogan. Digitization, when you look at the two parties, it's going to be very interesting. Digitization, some 35% people will vote the Great Transformation Plan. So if you look at it, the NDC has the 24-hour economy, digitization, MPP, GTP from the Movement for Change, and then people are not really looking at the other political parties. If you look at the other political parties, are not really out yet with the key messages they are going to be giving to their various party members or people who want to vote for them. But these three leading parties have agreed on what they want to do. So Mahama drops by 3-point-something%. Bawumia also goes up by 3.3%. So it's very interesting how we're going. So in the next 2 months, we'll know what the Global Info Analytics will be telling us.
Now, I was looking at how interesting Cheddar, away from John Dramani Mahama and the current vice president, who also happens to be the MPP candidate. I mean, Cheddar also and Alan Cash. It looks like Cheddar with his campaign keeps coming up. Have you made any observation?
Yes, Cheddar has gone up by some 2.3% if you look at the votes. So initially, when you look at the other votes, Alan had 4.4%. But previously, he was around 5-point-something%. But that has dropped. He's come down. And Cheddar is also going up. He's also gained by some 2.3% from the Global Info Analytics. So Cheddar is going up. And if you recall, a few days ago, he rounded up his Accra roadshow, where he was telling people what exactly he wants to do. And if you check on social media, a lot of young people are beginning to get interested in the activities of Alan. So I'm sure that is informing
the activities
of Cheddar. And I'm sure that is informing the rise in his percentage in terms of votes from the polls that they've
So just about some months, do you think these few months into the election day will mean a lot in terms of the dynamics, or we're not going to see the figures change so much so long as campaigns into the regions are concerned?
I say we are in the last 5 months of effective campaigning. If you want to win, by October, we should be able to tell who would win the elections. And for now, Bawumia is going to start his second phase of campaigning. And I understand the earlier one had to do with industry players, Guta and other industry people. But now he's going to go down to the various bases and various camps to engage the young people to find out what they really want him to do for them. Mahama is also going to intensify his campaign. GTP, the Movement for Change, they've also launched their GTP. I know they are going to intensify their campaigns. Cheddar is going to move his roadshow to other regions. So the last 5 months, and I'm saying by October, we should see a lot of changes in how Ghanaians are going to vote. It was too early from January till June. People were making their own submissions. But now we are getting to the last phase of the campaign. And Kweku, a lot of things will change in terms of what people want to hear, who is going to convince them and all that. So the last few months is going to be very interesting, Kweku.
Musa Lansa is head of our political desk. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, and we're looking forward to some more.
IB will eat me up. IB is the head of
political. We'll be controversial on that. Please forgive me for putting you in that political bracket there. But thank you for your analysis tonight. Obviously, you would find him as deputy editor in the GHOne newsroom. Well, it's all time for us to bring you Insight for tonight. And Insight is proudly brought to you by Pepsodent. With Pepsodent, every smile matters. All right, so in Insight tonight, the controversial legislative instrument meant to control the prices of cement in the country has been laid before Parliament by the Minister of Trade and Industry, or the LI, which is born out of the recent concerns by Ghanaians over the constant hike in prices of cement faced disapproval from the minority and the Cement Manufacturers Association themselves. But after further consultation was laid before the lawmakers, well, the LI has since been referred to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament and is expected to mature after 21 sitting days of the lawmaking house. Well, here is Minister of Trade, GHOne, speaking to the media.
Say cement manufacturing regulations, since I also get license, since I was say register war, BBR, na Bushman for the Ghana standards now, I'm gonna check BBR, also almost check cement and Wagana Hena, say papa, and your papa, your mountain. Moto to cement bi wo ho a anya homka wa ho dan ya isi na bi bu na ye say cement ehia pa awiase ba bia cement nti yankwa de ya say ya hwe ne na we ansay say da we abu na cement ankoye nti ya no ho law no ya wie no ya monitor so obi ade be ye second what na bo cement bo obia nka ho hwe enna ya say akosoro ene atum ne adechi ne atum nti yes a committee na is a ela ba ko na meka na ye committee bi wom committee no obi onim cement ho bibia organa ha bia no oka ho edna betenam so onfa na agbere famra na me ka kire wo mo say all right committee mo me yentena say ya wie we say no na ne bo no ma ne nye ho and we to we watamale wato ni say ade enko a me wa Minister of Energy no and ye start sa say ya petrol nebo price unitization na say ya turn balga ne ya turn no sa ya turn nkran ya turn tamale ya turn kumase ni nyina ye betumi ai bibia UPPF bi ewo mu no ye nye ne UPC ayi omgrade say Professor Yinma Ampo and ye nchengi no monko gwere ho.
Well, GHOne speaking in Akande while addressing the media. I would want to stay on the subject some more. If you're thinking about cement prices tonight, you can join me on our social media platform. But let's get some divergent opinions on this particular subject. As a minority, which earlier opposed to the laying of the LI, say they are satisfied as the minister worked on the concerns they had with it. Well, Governance Agboja is minority whip.
Mr. Speaker, I don't have any issues with this. The last time the minister was here, colleagues from both sides had very serious concerns. Those concerns have been sent back to the committee and have been addressed. I am informed that they have dealt with those issues, and based on that, we are advised that it is no longer harmless. So we are okay to to support it, at least what I've been told, that it is not about price control. It's the price control element have been taken out. It is about reporting, the price reporting to the committee. And if that is the case, Mr. Speaker, my advice is that it's no longer a controversial issue, so we can go. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
All right, so Ibrahim Al-Hassan is our parliamentary correspondent. Well, he joins me shortly for more on this particular issue, cement prices and GHOne moving to Parliament there later. Ibrahim Al-Hassan, thank you very much for your time. Well, before I even go on, I was supposed to help my viewers tonight as GHOne spoke in Akan. So I'll give you the opportunity, since you were there, to break it down a little bit for us. He actually interacted with the media in Akan. What was he exactly driving at?
Well, first, Kweku, let's establish why he decided to speak the local language, even though he was engaging journalists who virtually report for media houses that transact their business in English. According to him, the English media have not been fair to him relative to this matter of seeking to introduce an ally that is seeking to control the prices of cement. And so as a punishment for the English-speaking media houses, he decided to speak to you. With that out of the way, let's talk about what he said. First of all, he was explaining why the cement manufacturers yesterday walked out of a meeting that he had scheduled to dot the I's and cross the T's relative to this ally to pave way for its laying today. The cement manufacturers, according to him, did not want any media presence. But his counter-argument was that they had accused him of engaging in an illegality, trying to scatter their daily bread and then also kill their businesses. He wanted them to explain in clear terms what they meant by those claims before the cameras, before the media. So the media could then carry the message to Ghanaians, because according to him, overwhelming number of Ghanaians, actually the public in its entirety, support what he's doing, because they go to bed one day, wake up the next day, and the cement prices have been increased. And so because he refused to sack the media, that's how come the cement manufacturers walked away out of the meeting. But then they should wait and watch him. He was going to get the airline late today, and late he got it.
Interesting. Ibrahim Al-Hassan, I want to look at the minority side also. Early on, it looked like something that really they were not for, but in a smooth way, they allowed it to pass. Can you just update us on what really transpired before the minority actually said, well, you can go ahead?
Well, so the controversial clause had been changed. The controversial clause, Kweku, was that government will determine how much these cement manufacturers sell their cement, be it the 32 grade or 43 grade, be it in Accra or in Tamale. Currently, the longer the distance, the much more expensive the bag of cement is. Now, that price control clause has been removed. In this place, it's what is described as price reporting mechanism. And Kweku, you know better. When we talk about price reporting mechanism, it's about the players in the sector communicating to government as to what the determinants of their price system is and why they are selling the cement at the point, at the amount they are selling. If government has any input, that will be made, but that's not compulsory. And so now, with this amendment, the minority members who had concerns, the majority side, some majority MPs actually had concerns. Prominent among them is the Nyas Otium MP, Dixon Adoma Hugisi, had then been satisfied. The players in the sector had equally been satisfied because their fear was about the price control, because they argued that when they are importing the clinker, government is not able to determine the rate at which they buy the dollar. When they are paying the duties at the port, government has a fixed duty that they pay depending on the quantity and the amount they use in purchasing these raw materials. So government has no business telling them how they to sell their finished product. I'm sure now the sector players, the minority, and everybody who had concerns about government seeking to control the regime which has then been confined to the military era, will be satisfied that there's a change in that direction, and government no longer seeks to determine prices of cement products.
Ibrahim Alassane, thank you very much for breaking it down for us tonight. And obviously, the explanation why GHOne decided to address the media in Tree. Well, it's a punishment for the English-speaking media house, as he says you've gone against him on the reportage of this whole matter. Well, tonight you can share your opinion with us on our social media platforms on how this whole issue with cement prices, the discussion continues to rage on in Parliament. But let's stay on the matter a little more as chairman of the Cement Manufacturing Development Committee, who doubles as the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority. I'm talking about Professor Alex Dodu, says there are still issues of safety and low quality cement on the Ghanaian market. Well, according to him, a legislative instrument to check the ex-factory pricing of cement is not out of place. Professor Dodu therefore urged cement manufacturers to join the Trade Ministry's efforts towards ensuring transparency in the pricing of their products.
We shouldn't run away from the elephant in the room, but rather to interrogate the issues directly. One thing I will say is that the interest by the Ghanaian public in all that is happening in cement says one thing. Cement affects people. And in this meeting, I'm hoping we'll get concrete solutions to the cement problem, if you forgive my pun. We need concrete solutions. As we sit here right now, our surveillance tells us that the quality is still a big problem, and we have to deal with it head on. As we speak right now, there are one or two legal approved brands or types of cement which are being misapplied. And that will bring buildings down. We have to deal with it. Now, the issue of the LI, I think we'll take that at the end because the ministry profits. And industry requires confidentiality because one company's secrets cannot be shared. At the committee level, we did say categorically that can we have a mechanism for disclosing either by the company the average ex-factory price on a monthly basis, voluntarily, or to the committee to publish that anonymously to the country. And why did the committee ask for that? The committee's view is that whatever price is bought at the factory gate, by the time products get up anywhere in the country, the price may have changed. Now, as government should be seen to ensure that from the factory gate to the time it gets to the consumer, yes, there's fair profit, but prices don't change so that it looks like a chaotic market. Second, the government believes that if there are issues which are adding up to the cost build-up, there must be open discussions with the industry to bring relief to Ghanaians.
All right, so tonight I'm sure I've been able to bring you enough updates on the hike in cement prices throughout the country. Well, I would end the discussions here, but we are not ending the subject right here. Tonight, I would want to close Insight and appreciate Pepsodent for making it possible for us to bring you insight. In fact, with Pepsodent, every smile matters. We're back shortly with some business updates and also touching on some sports stories. All right, so we're grateful that you kept faith with us just before we bring you updates from our world of business. Let's look at some local updates, and here stakeholders from across Africa are meeting here in Accra to discuss ways in fast-tracking the achieving of the Sustainable Development Goals. Well, several countries have stagnated in the pursuit of the 17 goals set for sustainable development due to the several factors, including lack of resources and the impact of COVID-19. Well, the two-day meeting will see the participants drawn from across Africa and the diaspora discussing the way forward in dealing with the challenges. Well, Presidential Affairs correspondent Musa Lansa has more in this report.
According to the United Nations, only 17% of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are on track to being achieved by 2030, as most countries have either stagnated or retrogressed in their quest to achieve these goals. The quest to achieve the goals is being inhibited by various challenges, including both local and global issues such as funding, the crisis in Ukraine, and Gaza, among others. In the quest of finding solutions to these challenges, stakeholders are meeting in Accra at the SDGs Action Summit to brainstorm for the way forward. Addressing the opening of the ceremony, President Nana Akufo-Addo, who is the co-chair of the UN Secretary-General's Emeritus of SDG Advocates, stressed that the urgency to scale up action for achieving the goals cannot be overemphasized. He underscored the need for bold ambitions to scale up progress in the SDGs.
Global events have further complicated our development challenges. And like many African countries, the recent global shocks continue to exacerbate wealth disparities and widen the gap between rural and urban areas. These challenges underscore the need for urgent, decisive, and innovative actions. Ladies and gentlemen, having gone past the midpoint of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and with progress falling far short of stipulated targets, the urgency to scale up and accelerate actions cannot be overstated.
Also addressing the gathering virtually, the Deputy General Secretary of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, disclosed that only 11% of the 10-year plan to achieve Agenda 2063 were achieved by 2023 in Africa. Though she says calls for strong strategies in mobilizing finance to tackle the challenges.
According to the latest Secretary General's SDG Progress Report, only 17% of the SDG targets are on track to be achieved by 2030. A little under half are showing minimal or moderate progress, and an additional one-third have seen progress stall or move.
All right, so all is set for me to bring you the latest from our world of business. All right, so we appreciate Bills for making it possible for us to bring you business tonight. If you're looking for that loan, no hassle, just reach out to Bill and the loan would happen for you. Well, tonight in business, the Ghana Standards Authority, I'm talking about the GSA, has reviewed plans to deploy their task force to various markets across the country to educate and raise awareness amongst traders about the use of calibrated scales for measuring quantities of food items. Well, according to the authority, this initiative aims to enforce the use of appropriate weights and measurements in trade and apply sanctions to defaulters, serving as a deterrent to others.
Chop and Boss Ghana, in collaboration with Friends of the Nation and the Faculty of Renewable Natural Resources at KNUST, is implementing the Research for Development and Innovation Agriculture and Learning, the REDAL project. This project aims to contribute to the transformation and innovation of agriculture and food systems in Ghana. Addressing the National Multi-Stakeholder Dialogue on Agriculture, the acting head of the Scientific Meteorology Department at the Ghana Standards Authority, John Oboku-Dankwa, explained that while the authority does not control pricing, it ensures that all labeling on measuring instruments is accurate and reliable.
So the Ghana Standards Authority does not control pricing. What we do is to ensure that all weighing and measuring instruments are weighing accurately and reliably. We come in to ensure precise measurements. So occasionally, our officers go out to see to it that anybody that is using any form of weighing and measuring equipment either has been verified or has been calibrated.
A scientist involved in the REDAL project, Professor Tre Boateng, noted that it has brought together stakeholders to identify several issues affecting farmers and their livelihoods, necessitating a national dialogue and collective solutions.
This MSG is to bring to the attention of the stakeholders, especially the policymakers, the various conversations we have had in the districts, what farmers have identified as challenges to agriculture, and what can be done to deal with those challenges.
The Member of Parliament for Wa East, Dr. Godfred Seydou Gisol, commended the stakeholders for considering the sponsorship of additional phases of the Redial project. He emphasized that Parliament would support these efforts by providing legislative and regulatory frameworks to advance the country.
The fact that they have done a lot more work on the relationship between crop farmers and crop lands and also cattle rearing is something that I think there are huge lessons for us to learn. I wish to really use your space to invite the European Union to consider sponsoring or financing additional phases of this project, because the impact clearly is great and we look forward to achieving and then sustaining it.
The Redial project has identified several policy issues, including the standard pricing of food crops based on weight, farmer-herder conflict, and the status of cattle ranchers in the country.
All right, so that's about all we have for you tonight in business. We want to appreciate Bill's Microcredit for making it possible for us to bring you business. Up next, we're bringing you some updates from our world of sports. All right, so sometimes I get very excited about introducing her tonight. Let me try it in maybe the wrestling way or something. So we go with, here comes Monica Bukri.
We are in the ring, right?
All right, darling.
We seem to be in the boxing ring, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, today happens to be World Sports Journalist Day, and then Yampo for Ankara has commended all sports journalists in the country, but still mentioned there is more to do with our platforms and all that. I've got this plus details of the highlights of the Euros 2024. Do stay. Now, veteran sports journalist Yampo for Ankara has charged sports journalists to use their platforms to enhance facilitations of sports infrastructure in the country. He emphasized the significant impact journalists can have when they utilize their platforms to positively influence lives. Speaking on the game here on GHOne TV and Star FM, the chairman for Beach Soccer Association of Ghana, Yampo for Ankara, however, noted that there has been a huge impact with online journalism in Ghana over the recent years.
Today is so significant. We should be asking ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not just being on radio, TV, online. Again, I didn't mention online, which has also been a huge impact over the last few years, which continues to dominate our space. But the question is, how are we using that to impact the lives of ordinary people beyond the stadiums, beyond the arenas, beyond the courts or the swimming pools? After that, what happens? And it's about policy direction, it's about lobbying, it's about putting pressure on the decision makers and the stakeholders to make a change, not just for sports journalists, but in our role, how do we use our spaces, or our platforms to impact lives? So, for example, infrastructure development, we would want to believe that every sports journalist would love to see a sports arena, multi-purpose sports arena in every region of Ghana. Your platform is important. Monica has a voice, I have a voice. I think the rallying point is getting together, being united and lobbying for these things to happen, so that in an election year like this, we should be very vociferous, very vocal in what we think should be done by whoever wants to become the next government. So I think we should use our spaces and our platforms and our influences to put pressure on the stakeholders, the policymakers, and those who take the decisions that impact not just the lives of ordinary people, but also our jobs as well.
So, well, that is it for sports. My name is Monica Bukari. Back to you, Kweku.
All right, thank you very much, Monica Bukri. Looking forward to engaging you again in sport. But for now, I'm all set to bring you some entertainment on GHOne. All right, so on GHOne tonight, King Solomon Mawena Lajekpo won the grand prize at the 2024 British Council Partner School Awards ceremony held in Accra last weekend. Well, the former student of Merton International Primary and High School was adjudged the overall best student for the 2023 Cambridge Advanced Level Exams in Ghana. Well, the Merton School, in addition, swept home 9 awards, making it the most enviable school under the British curriculum in the country. Well, in his keynotes and welcome address, Ni Dodu, Country Director, British Council, Ghana, Cameroon, and Sierra Leone, explained that this year's awards are special because as it honors excellence amongst top achievers. We say Aiko to Merton School for the success. All right, so that's about all we have for you tonight. My name is Kweku, Temeng, bulletin led by Musa Lansa. On behalf of the entire production team tonight, we would want to salute you. But just before I go, a reminder that you bring the family together and ensure you brush with Pepsodent. With Pepsodent, every smile matters. My name is Kweku Temeng. Enjoy your evening.